She wanted space. I moved states. 3 months later, my uncle left me $800,000. She found out and came hunting. When her car hit a guardrail and she called desperate for help, a woman answered my phone. He doesn't take calls from this number. My name is Vernon Hayes. I'm 48 years old, and I've spent the last 24 years married to a woman who stopped seeing me somewhere around year 19. I'm an auto mechanic. Nothing fancy, just honest work with my hands. I ran a small garage on the edge of town. 2 bays, decent clientele. Lydia worked as an HR coordinator at some tech company downtown. She wore blazers, drank overpriced coffee, and talked about optimizing workplace culture like it meant something. That Saturday morning started normal enough. I was in the driveway, changing the oil on Mrs. Patterson's Camry, because she trusted me more than the chain shops. Lydia came out wearing her yoga pants and holding that ceramic mug with a motivational quote she'd bought at some wellness conference. The one that said, breathe, believe, become. She watched me for a minute, then said it. Vernon, I think we need space. I didn't look up right away. Just kept draining the oil, watching it run dark and thick into the pan. My hands didn't shake. That's the thing people don't tell you about moments like this. You don't fall apart immediately. You just go numb. Space. I repeated, wiping my hands on a rag. Yeah, Lydia said, and I could hear that tone. The one she used in meetings when she'd already made up her mind, but wanted to pretend it was a discussion. Not a divorce. Just time apart. To reassess. I stood up, looked at her directly. She had her arms crossed, defensive but determined. Behind her, the morning sun was hitting the kitchen window, making everything look too bright, too sharp. How much space? I asked. She blinked. What? How much space, Lydia? A week? A month? You moving to the guest room? Or you want me to find somewhere else? Her mouth opened, then closed. She hadn't expected questions. She'd expected me to argue. Probably. To beg. To promise I'd change. Instead, I nodded slowly. All right. She looked confused now, maybe even a little rattled. Yeah, I said, setting the wrench down carefully. You want space, I'll give you space. Real space. I walked past her into the house. Behind me, I heard her say something, but I wasn't listening anymore. 24 years, and it took her 10 seconds to ask for an exit. Fair enough. It'd take me less than that to give her one. I left on a Monday morning. No drama, no big speech. Just packed what mattered in my truck and hit the road before Lydia woke up. Left her a note on the kitchen counter, short and simple. You wanted space. You've got it. Take care of yourself. The drive to Tennessee took 11 hours. I'd always liked the idea of the Smoky Mountains, the quiet towns tucked into valleys where people minded their business and let you do the same. Found a place online, a small rental house outside of town called Everwood, population barely scratching 2,000. The landlord, a retired postal worker named Mr. Gaines, met me with the keys and a handshake. He didn't ask questions, and I didn't volunteer answers. The house was simple. 2 bedrooms, 1 bath, a garage big enough for a workspace. The rent was $800 a month, utilities included. I could swing that on savings for a while, and I already had a plan. First week, I set up the garage, brought my tools, organized the workbench, hung my old sign from the shop on the wall. Hayes Auto Repair. Honest work, fair price. It felt right seeing it again, like I was reclaiming something I'd forgotten I owned. By week 2, I picked up my first job. A local farmer needed his tractor looked at. Transmission was slipping. Word spread fast in small towns. By the end of the month, I had a steady trickle of work. Nothing fancy, just local folks who appreciated someone who showed up on time and didn't overcharge. I didn't call Lydia, didn't text, deleted my Facebook, canceled the shared Netflix account, even changed my phone number. Got a cheap prepaid, only gave it to clients. The old life. I left it in the driveway with the oil stains. Evenings, I'd sit on the porch with a beer and watch the sun drop behind the ridgeline. The silence out here wasn't empty. It was full of things I'd forgotten. Crickets, wind through pine trees, the distant sound of a dog barking. No traffic, no neighbors arguing through thin walls. No Lydia's podcast playing at full volume while she ignored me. One night, about 5 weeks in, Mr. Gaines stopped by with a casserole his wife made. He sat on the porch steps, didn't say much, just commented on the weather and asked how the work was going. Staying busy. I told him. He nodded, took a sip of the beer I'd offered. You got that look, he said after a while. What look? Like a man who finally put down something heavy. He stood, dusted off his jeans. Good for you. After he left, I sat there thinking about that. He was right. For the first time in years, I felt light. 3 months in, I got a call from Dale Winters. My best friend since high school. The kind of guy who'd help you move a body without asking questions. He ran a metal fabrication shop back home, and we'd stayed close over the years. Vernon, Dale said when I answered. You sitting down? I'm under a Dodge Ram. What's up? Lydia's been asking around about you. Called me last week, called your brother, even called the shop you used to rent from. I slid out from under the truck, wiped my hands. What did you tell her? Nothing. Told her if you wanted her to know, she'd know. But Vernon, there's something else. He paused. Your Uncle Frank passed. Heart attack. 3 weeks ago. Left you everything. I stood there in my garage, phone pressed to my ear, processing. Uncle Frank, my dad's brother, the one who never married, lived alone up in Montana, ran a successful equipment rental business. We kept in touch, Christmas cards, occasional phone calls, but I hadn't seen him in 5 years. How much is everything? I asked quietly. His lawyer's been trying to reach you. I got the number. But Vernon, word is it's north of 800,000. The business, his property, savings. All of it. My legs felt unsteady. I sat down on my workbench stool. $800,000. Lydia had no idea. The inheritance came through after I'd left. After I'd changed my number. After I'd erased myself from her world. Does she know? I asked Dale. Not for me. But his lawyer might have tried your old address. If she's checking the mail. She knows. I finished. That's why she's looking for me. Dale was quiet for a moment. Yeah, probably. I thanked him, got the lawyer's number, ended the call. Sat there in the garage, surrounded by the simple life I'd built, and felt something cold settle in my chest. Not anger, just clarity. She didn't want me back. She wanted the money. I called the lawyer that afternoon, confirmed everything, set up a trust, put most of it away. I didn't need $800,000. I needed to know that when she finally found me, it wouldn't be because of love. It'd be because of greed, and knowing that made it easier to keep the door shut. That evening, I drove into town, stopped at the local diner, sat at the counter, ordered coffee and pie. The waitress, a woman about my age with kind eyes and tired smile, refilled my cup without being asked. Rough day, she asked. Complicated day, I replied. She nodded like she understood. Those are worse sometimes. Her name was Claire Donovan. I didn't recognize her at first. 27 years changes people. But when she said, Vernon Hayes, is that really you? In that same voice I'd fallen for in college, everything came rushing back. We dated junior and senior year at State. She was pre-med, I was in the automotive tech program. We were serious, talked about marriage, about building something together. Then her father got sick, and she moved back to Oregon to help her mother. Long distance didn't work. We drifted apart, lost touch after a year. Now here she was, standing in front of me at Everwood's only grocery store, holding a basket with bread and coffee, looking like time had been kinder to her than it had any right to be. Claire, I managed, and she smiled. 27 years, Vernon. You look good. A little grayer, but good. We talked right there in the aisle. She'd moved to Everwood 8 months ago after her divorce finalized. 2 kids, both in college now. She worked as a nurse practitioner at the county health clinic. She lived alone, said she was still figuring out who she was outside of being someone's wife and someone's mother. I understood that more than she knew. We exchanged numbers. She suggested coffee sometime. I agreed. 3 days later, we met at the diner. Talked for 2 hours. Easy conversation like no time had passed. She asked what brought me to Everwood. I told her the truth, most of it anyway. Wife wanted space. I gave it to her. Permanently. Claire nodded, stirred her coffee. My ex wanted freedom. I gave him the house, the car, everything. Figured I'd rather start over with nothing than stay trapped with everything. How's that working out? I asked. She looked at me, really looked at me, and something passed between us. Recognition maybe, understanding. Better every day, Claire said softly. We started seeing each other after that. Nothing rushed, nothing forced. Coffee turned into dinner. Dinner turned into long drives through the mountains. She'd come by the garage sometimes, bring lunch, sit on the workbench and tell me about her day. It felt natural in a way nothing had felt natural in years. One evening, about 6 weeks after we'd reconnected, we were sitting on my porch watching the sunset. She reached over, took my hand. "I'm glad you ended up here," Claire said. I squeezed her hand gently. "Me too." Back home, Lydia was unraveling. I heard this later from Dale, who heard it from mutual friends who couldn't help but watch the slow-motion collapse. It started small. She called people asking about me, casual at first, then desperate. She showed up at Dale's shop one afternoon, makeup smeared, hair uncombed. That wasn't the Lydia anyone knew. The woman who color coordinated her closet and never left the house without looking camera ready. "Where is he?" she demanded, standing in Dale's office doorway. Dale looked up from his paperwork. "Don't know Lydia. Haven't seen Vernon in months." "You're lying," she said, voice rising. "You two have been friends forever." "He would have told you." Dale set down his pen, leaned back in his chair. "Maybe he did. Maybe he didn't. Either way, it's not my business to tell you." She tried threatening him, said she'd get lawyers involved. Dale just shrugged. "Get all the lawyers you want. I still don't know where he is." She lost her job 3 weeks later. Too many absences, too many emotional outbursts. Her supervisor at the tech company had been patient, but when Lydia screamed at a junior employee over something trivial, that was it. They let her go with 2 weeks severance and a suggestion that she seek professional help. The house started falling apart. Small things at first. The lawn grew wild because I'd always handled that. The garbage disposal stopped working because I'd always fixed those things. Then bigger problems. A pipe burst in the basement. The furnace quit in November. She had to hire people for everything, and the bills piled up fast. Her sister stopped returning calls after Lydia borrowed $3,000 and never paid it back. Her parents, retired in Florida, grew tired of the late-night phone calls where she'd cry and blame everyone but herself. She tried online searches, hired a private investigator who took her money and found nothing because I'd been thorough. No digital footprint, no forwarding address, no trail to follow. The joint bank account she'd relied on was nearly empty. I'd taken my half, left her with just enough to survive for a few months if she was careful. She wasn't careful. Designer coffee, yoga retreats, the lifestyle she'd maintained while married to a man who worked 60-hour weeks to support it. All gone. By month 5, she was living in a rental apartment. The house foreclosed after she couldn't make payments. She'd drive by Dale's shop sometimes, park across the street, just watching. Like maybe I'd show up. I never did. Dale told me all this during one of her phone calls. "She's spiraling, Vernon. Part of me feels bad for her." "Don't," I said flatly. "She made her choices. I'm just letting her live with them." It happened on a cold January evening. I was at Claire's house, helping her fix a leaky faucet in her kitchen. We'd been together 4 months by then. Nothing official, but comfortable. Real. She was telling me about a difficult patient at the clinic when my phone rang. I didn't recognize the number. Almost didn't answer. But something made me pick up. "Hello." Silence. Then heavy breathing. Then a voice I hadn't heard in 7 months. "Vernon," Lydia said, and she sounded broken. "Vernon, please. I need help. I had an accident. My car." I hung up. Didn't hesitate. Didn't think. Just ended the call. Claire looked at me, concerned. "Everything okay?" "Wrong number," I said, setting the phone down. It rang again immediately. Same number. I declined it. Then a text came through. "Please, Vernon, I'm hurt. Nobody else will help me, please." I blocked the number. Turned off my phone. Went back to fixing the faucet. Claire watched me quiet. She knew something had happened, but she didn't push. That was one of the things I loved about her. She understood silence. Later, after I'd finished the repair and we were sitting on her couch with coffee, she finally spoke. "Was that her?" Claire asked gently. I nodded. "Yeah, you didn't want to help." I thought about that. Took a sip of coffee, let it warm me from the inside. "No," I said finally. She wanted space. I gave it to her. That doesn't get to be conditional based on when it's convenient for her. Claire reached over, took my hand. "That takes strength. Or coldness," I replied. "No," Claire said firmly. "Strength. Cold would be seeking revenge. You're just maintaining boundaries." My phone, still off, sat on the table between us. I wondered if Lydia was okay, if she really had been in an accident or if this was manipulation. Part of me, the part that had loved her for 24 years, wanted to turn the phone back on. Wanted to check. But the stronger part, the part that had rebuilt itself over 7 months, knew better. The next morning, my phone showed 12 missed calls, all from different numbers. 6 voicemails. I deleted them all without listening. Then Claire's phone rang. She looked at the screen, looked at me. It's a number I don't recognize, she said. Don't answer it. I told her. She didn't. But later, curiosity got the better of her. She checked the voicemail. Her face went pale. Vernon, Claire said quietly, handing me her phone. You should hear this. I listened. It was Lydia's voice, shaking, desperate. Please, whoever you are, if you're with Vernon, tell him I'm sorry. Tell him I made a mistake. Tell him I need him. Tell him. I deleted it. Handed Claire her phone back. Block that number, I said. She did, without question. That afternoon, my old friend Dale called. Vernon, Lydia somehow got my number. She's claiming she was in a car accident, asking me to reach you. Was she really in an accident? I asked. Yeah, Dale confirmed. Minor one. Bumped a guardrail. Nothing serious. But she's using it as an excuse to contact you. Don't give her anything, I said. Not my number. Not my location. Nothing. I won't, Dale assured me. But Vernon, she sounded desperate. Good. I replied and meant it. Maybe she'll finally understand what space actually means. Dale called me on a Tuesday morning. His voice tight with something between warning and apology. Vernon, she's coming. Lydia somehow tracked down where you are. She's driving to Tennessee. I stood in my garage, phone pressed to my ear, wrench still in my other hand. How'd she find me? She hired another investigator. Better one this time. He traced your truck registration somehow. I just found out from her sister, who felt guilty enough to warn me. Vernon, she'll be there by tonight. I thanked Dale, hung up, and looked around my garage. The life I'd built. The peace I'd found. She was coming to shatter it. Or try to. I called Claire at the clinic. Can you come over after your shift? I asked. I need you here. Claire heard something in my voice. I'll be there in 20 minutes. She arrived, still in her scrubs, and I told her everything. The inheritance, Lydia's probable motivations, the fact she was driving here right now. Do you want to leave? Claire asked. We could go somewhere for a few days. No, I said firmly. I'm done running. She wants to talk, we'll talk. But on my terms, in my space, with you beside me. Claire squeezed my hand. Okay, I'm not going anywhere. Lydia's car pulled up around 7 that evening. A rental, probably because her own car was still damaged from that accident she'd used as an excuse to call me. I watched from the porch as she got out, thinner than I remembered, her clothes less coordinated, her hair showing roots she would have never let show before. She stopped at the bottom of my porch steps when she saw Claire sitting beside me. Vernon, Lydia said, her voice careful, measured. We need to talk. Alone? No. I replied evenly. Anything you have to say, you can say in front of Claire. Lydia's jaw tightened. Who is she? Someone who respects boundaries, Claire said calmly, not rising from her seat. Lydia's eyes flickered with something, anger maybe, or jealousy. Vernon, please. I made mistakes. I know that now. But we can fix this. 24 years of marriage doesn't just disappear. You're right, I said, standing up. It doesn't disappear. You ended it. I just made it official. I didn't mean it like that, Lydia said, taking a step closer. I was confused. I needed time to think. But I've had that time, and I know now. I want us back. I want to come home. This is my home, I said, gesturing to the house behind me. And you're not welcome in it. Her composure started to slip. Is this about money? Because I know about Frank's inheritance. I know you got everything. Vernon, we could use that money together. We could travel, start over somewhere new, be who we were supposed to be. There it was. The truth laid bare. Claire stood up then, moved beside me. He doesn't owe you anything, she said quietly. Not his time, not his money, not his future. Lydia looked at Claire with pure venom. You don't know anything about our marriage. I know enough, Claire replied. I know he's been happier in the 8 months I've known him than he probably was in years with you. Lydia turned back to me, desperation replacing calculation. Vernon, please. I have nothing. No job, no house. I'm living in a terrible apartment, working a coffee shop. I need help. You told me you needed space. I said, my voice level but hard. You got it. You told me you needed to find yourself. How's that working out? Don't be cruel, she whispered. I'm not being cruel, I replied. I'm being clear. You made a choice. You asked for freedom. I gave it to you. Completely. Permanently. That doesn't get to be temporary, just because you're facing consequences. I made a mistake, Lydia said, tears forming now. Real or performed? I couldn't tell anymore. Yes, I agreed. You did. And that mistake cost you a marriage, a home, and apparently your dignity, since you drove 700 miles to beg. But it doesn't cost me anymore, Lydia, because I'm not yours to cost. She stood there, tears running down her face, and I felt nothing. Not satisfaction, not pity, just the quiet certainty that I'd made the right choice. Leave, I said finally. Don't come back. Don't call. Don't write. We're done. Lydia looked at Claire, then back at me. You'll regret this. No, I said simply. I really won't. She got in her car and left. Claire, and I watched the taillights disappear down the road. Then Claire turned to me. You okay? She asked. I pulled her close, kissed her forehead. Better than okay. I'm free. 2 weeks after Lydia's visit, I made a decision. I called Claire and asked her to dinner at the nicest restaurant within 50 miles. She said yes, curious but not pushing. Over steaks and wine, I told her about the inheritance, the full amount, what it meant. She listened quietly, her hand in mine across the table. I want to do something with it, I said. Something that matters. I was thinking about expanding the garage, maybe hiring a couple of young guys, teaching them the trade. But more than that, I was thinking about building something with someone. With you, if you're interested. Claire smiled. That warm smile I'd fallen for all over again. What did you have in mind? Maybe buying some property. Building a real home. Not running anymore, just living. Together. She was quiet for a moment. Then she said, Vernon, I need to tell you something first. I have arthritis. It's been progressing for a few years now. My joints, especially my hands and knees. Some days are better than others, but it's not going away. I wanted you to know before we start talking about futures. I squeezed her hand gently. Does it hurt right now? A little, she admitted. Then we'll figure it out together, I said. Bad days and good days. Claire, I didn't survive Lydia just to find someone perfect. I found someone real. That's worth more. Her eyes got bright. You're sure? Never been more sure of anything. We spent the next few months looking at property. Found 10 acres outside town, bordered by woods on one side and a creek on the other. Used part of the inheritance to buy it outright, then design a house together. Single story, wide doorways, low counters for when Claire's joints bothered her. Made it accessible without making it feel like a hospital. While the house was being built, I expanded the garage, bought better equipment, hired 2 young men fresh out of technical school, taught them how to diagnose problems, how to treat customers right, how to build something that lasted. Named it Hayes Auto and Small Repairs. Put Claire's name on the business license as co-owner. She protested at first, but I insisted. You're part of this, I told her. All of it. Dale visited in July, spent a long weekend helping me frame out the workshop on the new property. On the last evening, we sat on my temporary porch, drinking beer and watching the sun set. You did it, Dale said finally. Build a whole new life. We did it. I corrected, thinking of Claire. I couldn't have done this alone. Lydia came on my shop last month, Dale said carefully. Asked if I'd heard from you. What did you tell her? Told her you were happy. That seemed to hurt her more than anything else I could have said. I thought about that. Good, I said finally. Maybe she'll finally move on. You ever regret it? Dale asked. The way you handled it. I took a long drink, considered the question seriously. No, I said. I gave her exactly what she asked for. The fact that she didn't mean it isn't my problem. I spent 24 years being what she needed. I'm spending the rest of my life being what I need. Dale raised his beer. To new beginnings then. We clinked bottles as the sun disappeared behind the mountains, and I realized something. I wasn't building a new life to replace the old one. I was building the life I should have had all along. 10 months after Lydia's visit, a letter arrived. Not to my address, but to Dale's shop. He forwarded it to me with a note. She's still trying. Thought you should see this. I opened it sitting on my porch, Claire beside me. The handwriting was Lydia's, shakier than I remembered. Dear Vernon, it began. I know you don't want to hear from me. I know I have no right to ask anything of you. But I'm writing this because my therapist says I need closure, and maybe you do too. I almost stopped reading there, but something made me continue. I've spent the last year in therapy trying to understand why I destroyed the best thing in my life. The truth is, I was bored. Not with you specifically, but with who I become. I thought asking for space would make you fight for me, prove you still cared. I wanted drama, attention, proof that I mattered. When you just agreed and left, it shattered everything I thought I knew about us, about myself. Claire read over my shoulder silently. I know now that I was the problem. You were steady, reliable, present. Everything a partner should be. But I mistook steady for boring, reliability for taking you for granted. I thought the grass would be greener somewhere else. Turns out, it was just different grass, and I had to mow it myself. Despite everything, I almost smiled at that line. I'm not writing to ask you back. I know that ship has sailed. I'm writing to say I'm sorry. Truly sorry. Not for what I lost, but for what I took from you. Years of your life, your trust, your peace. You deserve better than what I gave you. I hope you found it. The letter ended simply. Be happy, Vernon. You earned it. Lydia. I folded the letter, slipped it back into the envelope. Claire watched me carefully. How do you feel? She asked. Honestly, nothing much. Maybe a little sad for her, but not in a way that changes anything. Are you going to respond? I thought about that. Part of me, the part that had loved her once, wanted to write back. Tell her I accepted the apology, wish her well. But the stronger part knew better. No, I said finally. Some things don't need a response. She got to say what she needed to say. That's enough. Claire nodded, leaned against me. You're a good man, Vernon Hayes. I'm a man who learned his worth, I replied. Took me 48 years, but I got there. We sat in comfortable silence, watching the evenings settle over our property. The house was nearly finished, the business was thriving, and the woman beside me chose me every single day. Not out of obligation or habit, but because she wanted to. That was worth more than any apology letter could ever be. Later that evening, I took the letter to the fire pit behind the garage, lit with a match, watched it burn, not out of anger or spite, but out of finality. That chapter was over. I'd read the ending. Time to start a new book entirely. 14 months after I left my old life behind, Claire and I stood in front of our completed house. Single story, wraparound porch, built with every detail designed for both function and comfort. The workshop behind it was fully operational, and Hayes Auto and Small Repairs was turning a solid profit with 2 full-time employees. Dale had driven down for the housewarming, along with a handful of locals we'd befriended. Mr. Gaines brought his wife. Earl, the farmer who'd given me my first job here, showed up with a homemade pie. It wasn't a big party, maybe 15 people, but every single one of them mattered. Never thought I'd see you this settled, Dale said, standing beside me on the porch while Claire showed Mrs. Gaines the accessible kitchen we'd designed. You look different, brother. Younger somehow. I feel it, I admitted. Turns out, stress ages you faster than time does. Heard anything from Lydia? One letter, months ago, apologizing. I didn't respond. Dale nodded approvingly. Good. She made her bed. She did. I agreed. But I'm not lying in it anymore. That's what matters. Inside, Claire was laughing at something Mr. Gaines said. Her hands were bothering her today. I could tell by the way she held her glass, but she didn't complain. Just adapted. She caught my eye through the window and smiled. That warm smile that still hit me square in the chest every time. You gonna marry her? Dale asked quietly. Already asked. I replied. She said yes last week. We're thinking small ceremony, just close friends. Nothing fancy. Dale clapped me on the shoulder. Congratulations, man. She's good for you. She's good, period. I corrected. I'm just lucky she thinks I'm good for her too. As the evening wound down and guests started leaving, Claire and I found ourselves alone on the porch, watching the sun disappear behind a ridgeline. The same view I'd watched alone 14 months ago, but everything was different now. You ever regret it? Claire asked softly. The way it ended with Lydia, I thought about the question seriously. No, I said finally. I regret the years I spent trying to be enough for someone who didn't value it. But leaving, that's the best decision I ever made. Led me here. Led me to you. Claire squeezed my hand gently, careful as always. I'm glad you listened when she asked for space. Me too, I said. Turns out, space was exactly what I needed. Just not from her. From the version of myself that thought I deserved less than this. We sat there until the stars came out, until the night sounds of the mountains surrounded us. Somewhere in the distance, An owl called. The breeze carried the scent of pine and possibility. My phone buzzed. A text from one of my employees about a job scheduled for tomorrow. Simple, straightforward, nothing dramatic. Just life moving forward the way it should. I looked at the house we'd built together, the business with both our names on it, the future we were constructing one day at a time. This wasn't a revenge story. It wasn't even really a comeback story. It was a story about a man who finally learned that sometimes the best response to someone asking you to leave is to actually go and keep going until you find the place where you were meant to be all along. I'd found mine, right here, with Claire beside me, building something real from the ashes of something that had been dying for years. Lydia had asked for space. I gave it to her, completely, permanently, and in that space I found myself. That was the real victory.